Welcome to The Craft. I'm your host, May Globus. This podcast is a collection of intimate conversations on artistry, mastery, and life with talented, passionately curious creatives and entrepreneurs. Most are dear friends, some are those I've admired from afar. I hope you enjoy these conversations, this exploration of the humanity that connects all of us, as much as I do having them. Thank you for being here and for listening. Adele Tetangco dances to the beat of her own drum. Always has, always will. She's been in the fashion industry for years, from writing and sales and marketing at clothing brand Dace to co-founder and VP of merchandising at retail startup Garmentory. Now, Adele is the co-creator of contemporary women's wear label Etigre, co-founder of BIPOC market In Toto, and founder of Snack Size, a creative collective. She grew up in Coquitlam and has lived there for most of her life. The youngest of 3 daughters, her childhood was spent in Filipino neighborhoods that threw block parties, and her family took regular trips to the Philippines. Her love for fashion came from her father, who worked in fashion at Fields, part of Hudson's Bay at the time, starting in the warehouse, then working his way up to being a buyer. At 19, she had her first child, a daughter. In this conversation, we explore how she never felt the need to conform to cultures other than her own, being a young mother and often mistaken for her daughter's nanny in the early days. What the next gen is wearing right now, the way she forged and pivoted her career by following her instinct without question, her psychic abilities in listening to your body, major lessons she learned as a co-founder of a venture-backed company, her late mentor, Ginny Hershey-Lambert, and the impact she left on Adele, why it's essential to allow space for creativity and therefore business success, and much more. Please enjoy this engaging conversation with the irreverent, straight-shooting, creative, pioneering Adele Tetangco. Adele Tetangco.
Hi.
Hi, welcome
Hi.
to The Craft.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. You've been on my list since day one. So
We
to
go
have
way
you
back.
here- We do. We were
Yeah.
just chatting about that. And we go back almost a
Early
decade.
2000s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, maybe
Yeah.
like 2005, 2004, maybe?
Yes. It was when
Yeah.
you were at Dace.
Yes.
And it was a shared space, and my friend Melania de la Cruz was in that space as well.
Yes. And you were a writer. You were writing not just Sweet Spot, but were you writing for someone else at the time?
Yeah, so I had a couple of contracts that I was writing for, but for Sweet Spot, I was a city editor.
Got it.
Yes.
Because you were on my press list because I did in-house PR. So I think I was
Yes.
like pitching to you and
Mhm.
also inviting you to the events we were doing.
Yes.
And then, yes, I remember, I think I saw you the first time we did a party for Days at the Opus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the Opus Hotel. Do they even still have that? I don't even know.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think it's still around.
But when they had like the velvet, they had
Yes,
like
it
a
was
velvet
like-
curtain. It was very, yeah. So we were we did a party there, a fashion
Yes.
show, and I remember inviting you. And I
That's-
think that's the very first time that I like met you in person. Because I think on Facebook I was trying to tag someone as you, and you're like, "That's not my photo." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know who's this person then?"
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I also had a total brain fart, but also you were a contributing writer for Sweet Spot
Yes.
when I was city editor.
Yes, and you taught me how to write. Because I just remember being at Dace, and I was just having, I was answering, basically at Dace, I did all of the marketing. I ended up doing all the marketing and sales stuff.
Mhm.
And anytime Dace had an interview, I'm the one that, I'm like, can you just email the questions? And then I'm the one that would answer all the questions for Dace. Because she's like very few words. You know, she's, like she doesn't, yeah. So I answered all of them. And so I was like, I need to get better at this writing. And I think for National Post, they wanted Dace as a guest writer to write a couple of things. And so I ended up just writing a few things. And I sent you like, hey, look, I wrote this. Like, are you looking for writers? I need to get better. And at the time, like I was so poor, I couldn't afford to go take classes. Because I was looking at classes and I was just like, I don't think I can afford to do this. So maybe I will reach out to May and see if she needs help.
Yes.
You know?
And I did.
And you did.
Yeah.
And I did it for a long time.
I think the entire duration that I was there.
And then you even after I had CLO, my youngest daughter, you sent me to interview Derek Blasberg at the room when he
When he had the book.
And so I interviewed him, and then you just transcribed it. That was the last thing I did for you. And then I think Sweet Spot, there was no more Sweet Spot after that.
Then there was no more Sweet Spot.
So so it was for a while.
Wow.
But I learned how to write, and then I became faster at it.
That's so great.
So I was so terrible at writing all the time.
Well, I'm glad that it helped.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious. You met Derek. What was he like? I don't think we ever talked about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it because you were busy, and so I just I went for you, and I remember going with Cielo and Ryan, my husband, and so they waited for me, and I just did it. He was really nice.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's a lot of drama surrounding him, but he just seemed like a normal person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only time I ever saw him. I've never ever seen him.
He seems very charming.
Yeah, that's probably why he's
doing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And friends with who he's friends with.
Exactly. Exactly. And he writes very funny captions on Instagram. They're very, very clever.
Yeah, he's charming. He was really nice guy.
Yeah. That's
very
great.
Casual. Yeah.
Nice.
Funny. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's take it back.
Yes.
All the way back to Port Coquitlam, which is where you grew up there.
Yeah, I grew up there. Grew up in a very Filipino neighborhood. So, I don't know, it's like my parents would move to places where all their friends were. And so I just happened to, on the street, there was 10 other Filipino families who we were all friends with. So I actually talked about this not too long ago because I started this new business called In Toto, which is this BIPOC craft fair that happens in LA, and it's debuting December 11th and 12th. And so I started it with 3 other brands, also women of color. They're younger. I'm probably about 10 years older than them, but we had to talk about this because when they grew up when they were younger, they always felt like they had to assimilate into where they lived. Like the people around them were always white, and so they had to assimilate and conform in school and in their neighborhoods that they grew up in. Like their parents were also like my parents, like immigrants to Canada. I'm first generation, and I never felt that part. And I know other people have, because I've talked to a lot of other people, friends that have felt that they had to. I just never did, and I think it's because that neighborhood. Sorry about that. That neighborhood. Was full of Filipinos and Filipino kids. And so, we'd have block parties and I'd go to someone's backyard and they'd be roasting like a pig. I just never felt that. And I went to this Catholic school and there were Filipinos there too. And so I hung out with the Filipinos, and so I never as a child felt that I had to conform or I don't know. It just
the culture was around you.
Yeah,
you didn't have to.
Yeah, so I feel very fortunate for that. Compared to how I hear other people grew up, and I just never felt that. And if something like did happen to me, I just over my head, I wouldn't even realized it. So I feel very fortunate that I was able to do that.
I think that's really great. And we were having a little bit of a pre-chat about what Filipino means because a lot of Filipinos are mixed with Spanish, with Chinese, with other ethnicities, and so we were chatting about what does even being a full Filipino mean.
I know that's the question. It's like what does it mean to be like a true blood Filipino? I don't know. That's why I was saying it's what we eat. The food.
Yeah, it's the food.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Chicken adobo.
Oh, yeah. Is that your favorite?
No, my favorite is chicken afritada, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had it the other night at my mom's house.
Is she a great cook?
She's a great cook. Every time she makes something, I don't eat there. Well, obviously, over COVID, was not going over as much, but just takes me back to when I was little. Like, have you been to the Philippines?
No, so I was born there, but my mom and I left when I was 10 months old. So I don't remember it. And I haven't been back, though it is on my list. I would love to go back and see just how I would feel, landing there. So the place I was born.
Where were you born?
Psy City.
Okay, I don't know. It's so big, right?
Yeah.
My parents took me back often. I was born here, but we would go vacation every 3 years, and they would take all of us and go back. And so why I say it's what you eat, it's because if you've ever had breakfast there, maybe, it's like dinner for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 different meats, rice,
Yes. It's more savory than.
Yeah. And there's no vegetables, really. Eggplant, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, salad is what is that, iceberg lettuce?
Yes.
It's like, I hate that salad. So it's like, why eat it? This is nothing. This is this is nothing. This is nothing for you. It's like no point in eating it.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you're saying that, because I was having a conversation the other night with some friends. I was over at their place for dinner, and we were talking about Katoki Inn on Bowen Island, and they were like, "Oh, it looks beautiful." And I was saying my friend Maurice stayed there, and I always, really respect his opinion. And he was like, "No, it's beautiful. Like it's."
I made reservations here.
Yes.
For November 2022.
I know. Yes, they are fully booked out. Yeah, and the property looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So his one piece of feedback was, it's beautiful there. The cabins are lovely. The onsen is great. He was just saying it would be a more authentic experience if the breakfast was actually Japanese breakfast. And I think right now it's like a beautiful, delicious organic granola. And my friends were like, "Oh, well, what's a Japanese breakfast?" And I was like, "Well, it's more on the savory side. It's
dinner.
Not really breakfast.
You are what you eat." It's true though. It's true. I think Asian culture is just like that. It's
Yeah.
I mean, they'll make eggs, bacon, rice, but they'll also have like chicken adobo.
Yeah, exactly.
And
lot
soup.
more choice.
Some soup.
And some soup.
I remember being in elementary school, and we were in French class, and then we had to write words in French, and depending on what the question was, and she's like, "What did you have for breakfast?" And I put soup, and everyone was like, "What? No, that's not a breakfast food." I'm like, "Well, I ate it this morning."
It is to me.
It is to me. In my house, my mom would make me lumpia for breakfast. And I would even put some in my pocket. And then I remember having to go to school in church, and I would find in my pocket, I put it in my pocket.
A little snack
for later.
Oh, I love it. Well, you were mentioning your mom, and, she seems like she's probably a very good cook. But what is she like?
My mom
as a person
is... Well, if you're not friends with her, and if customer service, beware of my mom, because she's one of the ones that'll like, "No, this is not right," and then fight with the customer service, and then I'm just standing behind her, being, "I'm so sorry, I'm really sorry." So she's one of those kinds of Filipino moms.
Yep.
There's
strong,
a type.
Stubborn.
There's a type, strong, stubborn. Yeah, it's called. Me and my friends, because some of my friends had similar moms to mine, and we're like, it's the Filipino mom syndrome. She's got that Filipino mom. She could get a little crazy. She's gonna get mad. Oh, be careful! I feel sorry for that guy that served her that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so I'm always like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry," apologizing behind her, but just like, I already know, when she gets heated, she'll get mad,
Yeah. And what about your dad?
My dad is like me, he's funny, cracks jokes, outgoing. He was a buyer. He worked in fashion too. So he's very outgoing. Yeah. So
and probably where you get your love from for where you ended up.
Yeah, because he traveled the whole time. He was always he was at Field Stores, which was it was part of Hudson's Bay Company at the time.
Yes.
So he's, I think he worked for over 25 years there, maybe 27.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he was a buyer for linens and shoes. So he was always traveling, especially to Asia.
And he probably has great taste.
Yeah, and he was a really good negotiator.
Oh, okay.
So, because Fields was an off-price store, and so even for categories he wasn't buying in, they'd be like, "Hey, can you come here and negotiate this deal?" So he's a very good negotiator. So it's more that than the style, because it was more like...
Yeah, it was like that business sense of...
Yeah, so he would get he was
dollars
negotiating for categories he didn't even buy for. They were just like, "Hey, Loy, you got to come in here," and and do that stuff. So
and how did he get into it?
He actually, when he immigrated here, he started working there in the warehouse, and then he stayed there forever until he retired. Worked his way up until he retired.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you, what were you like as a child? I was wondering if you were really fun-loving and mischievous as a child.
Yeah, I was. Yes. My sisters probably would say that I was annoying. I mean, we fought a lot. But, I think we're all different signs that probably aren't compatible. So my mom didn't really time when she should have her kids. I was. I think also because I'm the youngest, my sisters broke in my parents. So I just did what I wanted to do, and I didn't care.
Right.
I didn't get in trouble like how they would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah, because they had practice with, just a
then
little less concerned by the time you came
They're
around.
just like, whatever. And so I kind of just did what I wanted to do.
Yeah, so pretty free-spirited as a child.
I think so. I mean, I loved fashion even when I was little, and I had an imagination, so I had like so many Barbies. And I would like create different worlds.
Yes, yeah, imagination,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
probably outfitting them.
Yeah, creating a city, Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So. And then at 19, you had your first daughter. What was that like being a young mother for you, like after she arrived?
It was, you know what, people always ask me this, and I'm just like, I just don't even know what would have been different because, when you're in it, you kind of just do it because you have to. And I liked it, and people would sometimes be like, oh, Adele, like, I feel so bad for her. She has this kid and she's so young. And I'm just like, okay, like, whatever.
Right. It just is what it is.
I just never cared. I'm like, it is what it is. And it's like, I'm not unhappy. So what's the problem? And I would always get mistaken for the nanny. Wait, right?
Yeah.
So rude.
Right.
Also because I'm so young looking, I did look like I was like 12.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I guess people would be shocked when they'd hear her call me mom, and they'd be like, and I remember when she started school, there was this one parent that was so uncomfortable with me. It was really weird, but kind of funny because she just would be so awkward around me. Like she just couldn't handle it.
Really?
Yeah.
She couldn't handle that you were so young as a mother? Or
I think so. I think that I was so young. I don't know. I sent her to the same school I did, so it was Catholic school. So I just don't think she could handle it. If she was so uncomfortable to her that I was Jamie's mom, I could tell because I could read people really well. I'm not stupid. And so she's just awkward. She couldn't even look me in the eye. Even if I invited her kid to Jamie's birthday party, like she couldn't even look me in the eye. And she just felt she was so uncomfortable. And it's probably, and I looked I looked really young. I looked so young. You know what I mean? So I looked like a kid still. Because then I would get comments like, oh, it's like a baby having a baby, things like that. It's like annoying.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask how that made you feel.
Oh,
so more
annoying.
like annoying, and you just sort of brushed it off.
Yeah. I would just always brush it off. I'm like trying now to be more vocal about things because normally I'm just like, whatever, like just brush it off. But now I'm just trying to be more vocal and advocate for myself. Well, actually, no, like, and just like stop and say no.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that's your boundary, right? And, boundaries are how you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah. So
right.
I'm trying to be better with that.
And I was doing some research, and you'd said in an interview that your eldest daughter is cool and put together. You're total opposite. And I was just laughing out loud when I was reading that.
She really is cool and put together. And I'm like, I wish I had that confidence when I was her age, because I always loved fashion. And I think sometimes, well, now when you're older, you could afford it. But when I couldn't afford it, it was hard because I'm just like, how can I get a look like that girl? My parents didn't have a lot of money, so it's not like they were taking me shopping every week or anything. And so I don't know. It just, but it's like, but she could be really I just didn't have that sense when I was her age. I don't think I came into really owning like how I like to dress and how I like to style myself until I was into my 30s.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I wouldn't have guessed that about you.
Well, I don't know. I guess that's just how I felt, like the confidence.
Right.
Because like the confidence is like a big part of it, right?
It is.
It's like how it makes you feel. I really don't think, maybe until I was into my 30s, honestly, like after Cielo was born, was I really feeling like I'm owning, like I've never felt like how I feel now when I dress, like how I did even 10 years ago. So. Yeah.
I think when I think about fashion, for me at least, there's a difference between fashion and style. Like when someone has style and you really feel it, it's like this person knows how to express themselves through what they're wearing, and they don't care. Like this is how they want to dress. They don't care how you perceive it. Like, this is how I want to express myself to the world. So yeah, that's really cool that your daughter's just
she's good and she's got a great eye. So so does my other one. But but Jamie definitely does for sure. She had a long time ago. I already saw it. Like I wish I did.
I'm so curious to know because is she 21 now?
She's 21. Yeah, she works at Purple.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she does the e-com and the photo shoots there.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm just curious to know that generation. Yeah. How do they, from what you can pick up from her, how do they view fashion and how are they shopping now?
Well, there was a time when Jamie was borrowing a lot of my things. And then eventually she just like, it's not her style. Like it's too old for her, you know? Um, I, she shops everywhere. Whereas
Okay.
for me, I only shopped at certain places, right? She shops everywhere. She'll do Value Village. She'll online at a place she's never heard before. And then she'll do like brand name too. I
Yeah.
do find that the style that's happening right now is this kind of clown chic going on. I'm going to add chic in there but it's kind of clowny.
Yes.
Like it really is. And it's this, I like to think of it as this like futuristic Y2K-ish type vibe that I'm getting from a lot of what I'm seeing, even like the London Fashion Week photos and, you know, like what the brands are producing. Because, you know, you've got like the patterns mixed and you've got like a sleeve one color, the sleeve the other color, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting and I think it's really fun. And I just don't think that it's for me. I do think it skews a little younger. Not that I feel like anyone should try to dress a certain age, but I don't feel comfortable wearing like checkered tights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a little different. So,
Yeah.
but I like looking at it. I really enjoy looking at it. But I've talked to other women, even women that were turning 40s that were like, I just don't know how to dress now. Like, or they're confused because of all of the styles that are coming out that are this kind of like Y2K clown kind of type vibes.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a Euphoria mixed with a Betty. Like if you watch those shows, which I love looking at it because I think it's like a lot of big risks and there's not a lot of care in terms of what matches because it's, you know.
It's
right?
That's the point of it.
That's the point of it. And so, but it's just not, it's just not my complete style.
Yeah.
You know?
I always think it's just fascinating to see how different generations and the young generation is looking at these type of things.
If you think back to the 90s, because I think you and I are around the same age, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So remember when there was that mental, the mental, and there was like Belle Biv DeVoe, and they were so it's kind of like that a little bit in a sense, like back in the 90s when we were younger, how people were dressing with like the different color paneling.
That's right.
Right. But now we just have these more different types of textures and like the checkered that's going looks like it's wavy, like kind of digital, you know?
Yes.
So
with
it's
that layer in there, that element.
Yeah. So I love looking at it. It's just very different from
what you choose.
What I'm choosing to wear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So. Well, let's take it back to you. And you and I were having a chat earlier this week about how you've always followed your curiosity and what you wanted to do when it came to your career, even at the very beginning. And I'm wondering where that came from. It sounds like some of it was your parents kind of were like, go free, it's okay.
Yeah.
Did they not? I'm wondering if you grew up in an environment with parents that didn't impose their expectations on what they wanted you to be.
Well, maybe they did, and I just didn't listen. Because I'm the kind of person where if you tell me I have to do something, I'm like, can I swear?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. Only not going to do it because you told me to do it. So I'm going to do the complete opposite of what you're saying.
You were that younger child.
I was that. And I do think that I'm still like that now. I mean, I could be told to do something, but I don't know I think it just depends on how someone tells me to do it, you know? So if my parents ever did say, no, you should do this or that, I'd be like, no, I'm not. You know, like I feel like I'm still like that. I've always danced the beat of my own drum at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for me, especially with work-wise, it's like, man, if I'm not having fun, I just can't do it. Like if I'm not feeling like the work that I do should give me the energy to do it really well and to do my best and love doing it and love the results. And if I get to a point where I'm not feeling that, I just like can't be bothered because then it's just soul crushing. And that's when I know I need to move on. And so that's why even at Dace, I stayed with her for 8 years because I loved it. Like I loved working with her. I loved the things that we were doing. You know, and I wish I could have continued forever, but the reality of it, it's very hard to have a clothing line. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think now even more so than ever, it's like if I don't like the project, I'm just not going to do it. I never thought about the money. Money was never the issue ever.
Yes.
It was always about, well, do I want to? Like, because if I knew that if I didn't like it, I'm not going to do a good job. You know what I mean?
I resonate with that
Yeah.
quite a lot, actually. So you make decisions based on feeling.
It's very
quite a bit.
intrinsic. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is my feeling. I trust my gut more than anything else. And, it's never served me wrong.
Yeah,
You know?
I was just going to say that because we were also talking, earlier this week about you learning to pivot really, really quickly and not really doing it with much hesitation. And my thought around that is I imagine it means you trust yourself a lot if you can pivot that quickly and without too much hesitation.
I trust my instinct. I always trust my instinct. And even when someone is like, no, it should be done this way, I'm like, I don't know. I have a feeling. I'm going to go with my feeling. It's this, It's never, my intuition has never served me wrong for anything any decision I've made, and the hardest part maybe has just been taking the initial leap to do the pivot. But at the end of the day, it's like, I got to trust my gut.
Right.
I have to have a good feeling about it. Like there was a time after Garmentory where I was going to go into another job that was in the States. And I was like, okay, the money was good. The role was good. I never signed the contract because I just didn't have a good feeling. I'm like, maybe I should. And I waited around and I found something else. And
where do you think the instinct comes from? Were you like that as a child as well?
Maybe it's because I'm kind of psychic.
I love this stuff.
It's because of the magic. Magic?
Yes.
No,
the Adele magic.
The Adele magic. No, I just I don't know. I just have I feel like I just always trusted my instinct.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was little, like I could see ghosts and stuff. So maybe I am psychic. And this is gonna go.
No, I think everyone is on a spectrum,
especially like
of
Filipino,
this.
where they're like.
Yeah. I didn't even realize until recently. Like I knew that the Filipino culture believed in the supernatural and the mystical.
Oh,
but
so much.
Yeah, it wasn't really until I watched an anime recently on Netflix called Treze.
I know which one you're talking about. I didn't watch it,
like,
but
wow.
Yeah.
So anyways, to and again, I think that the intuition that you're talking about, everyone's on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I know friends that do see things.
Yeah, and also, at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel right, it's got to feel right. And I think everybody has at least that part.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm kind of in tune with what my body tells me is right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, there is also a bit of a scientific explanation to like why you feel these things.
Tell me.
Yeah, and it's actually something that I learned in my sound therapy certification. So it actually comes down to quantum physics. So all of us we're made of atoms. Those atoms vibrate at a certain frequency and they create energy. So we're all made of energy. And so we have this invisible quantum field, biofield that's around us. And so when I'm explaining this to a client, the example I always use is, when you meet someone for the first time, and you may not even be standing that close to them or whatever, and right away whether you like them or not the connection, or you're like, oh, that person has good energy.
Yeah.
They have bad energy. And it's because your quantum fields are actually interacting because they extend around you, and you instinctively know whether you are energetically in alignment or not. And that's where you're like, oh, I want to continue connecting with that person, or you're like, oh, I'm going to keep a little bit of a distance.
I love that. I totally believe it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bit of the science behind the energetic reason, but yeah, of course there's the other spiritual reasons. Yeah. So, that's really cool. Psychic Adele. You should start a hotline.
I'm just like going to make shit up.
Yeah. I'd love to know how you met Ryan, your husband.
Oh, okay. So the year was 2007.
Yes.
I think we met because maybe it was 2006. Anyways, it was 2006 because Jamie was 6. And, because I had her young, I didn't go out very much. And then I had a boyfriend for a long time and we had broken up. And Jamie had started going to her dad's house for weekends. And then I was like, for the first time, I'm like, I have nothing to do. So I started going out. And I started going out, and I started actually going out too much. Probably wasn't a good mom at the time, but everybody has to go through that when you have a kid that young and you miss a large part of your life where everybody's going out and partying. You you're going to have to go out and do that, whether it's like it happens to you in your 20s or it happens to you in your 40s when your kids go away, whatever it is. Like there's this like time in your life where you really feel free. And I missed that. And so I had it. I blossomed and did it when I was 26. And, you know, going out, that's how I met Ryan, because I went out and there was like a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time. And we were at Honey. You know that?
Oh my
Honey?
gosh, I do
Used to
remember.
play such good music there.
Was it on Granville?
No, it was just off by close to Gastown by Tinseltown.
Oh, right.
In that kind of area there. It's a pub now.
Yes.
It's a pub.
Yes.
I don't remember what it's called.
Yes.
But in that
It's
corner.
the Pint. It's now the Pint
and
pub.
it was downstairs. And so, yeah, I met him there. And it was funny. I was meeting a lot of guys.
You were having your fun.
I was having a lot of fun meeting a lot of men's. And yeah, and then he was just always there, and you know, which was great. But I remember thinking at the time, I don't want a boyfriend because I'm having too much fun, and I've never had this kind of fun before, just like meeting people and being free. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I bet you I'm going to end up marrying this guy. You know?
No way.
Yeah, I said in the back of my head, I remember, I was like, I bet you I'm going to end up marrying him. And I did.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh, what was it about him where you're like, I'm going to marry him?
You know what it is? Like, he is so kind, but you know when you find someone where you don't have to change for that person? You're just yourself, and they could fit into the mold of who you are with them still being themselves, and then you still being yourself. So it was just really easy. That's why he's my soulmate. Like, we were meant to be, like that quantum physics. Like, we just connected. It just connected really well. And for the first time ever, did I ever feel that I didn't have to change who I was around somebody or act a certain way. Like, I could just be myself. And I'm kind of a weirdo.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, instead of having a filter, which I always had to have a filter, I didn't have one for the first time. So that in itself was freeing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, I think this guy's pretty great. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the idea of feeling free in a relationship.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate, isn't it?
Yeah, with no jealousy and no like asking permission to do something. Like, oh, like you're like he was so good on his own, even in a group with people he didn't know, that I didn't have to babysit him, and he didn't have to babysit me either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was just this like fluid and freeing feeling of, oh, like this is pretty nice. Like, and I'd never felt that before.
Yeah.
See, I always felt like, especially when you're young and you're dating a lot of dicks, you know, like you're like, oh, they're always having to change a little bit, you know. But it's like, oh, I'm gonna go out with my friends. You're gonna go with your friends. See you later, and it was fine, you know.
And he's creative too, right?
Yeah,
and so that's
creative.
really helpful for someone who is too, to be able to kind of riff on that.
Yeah, he's so creative, and I actually feel like he kind of pushed me in a different direction creatively, and challenges me that way. He still does, like even, you know, which I need.
Yes.
You know, so I love it.
That's so great. And he really,
he's the best.
Really nice guy. Like as soon as you're in his presence, you're like, this person is a good person.
He's a good person. He doesn't talk bad about anybody. I'm just like, come on, just say one thing about someone. Just say it. Come on. I want to hear it.
I know you're thinking it.
Yeah. But like, come on, don't you think this? Like, no, it doesn't say anything.
Oh,
come on. Cause I like to gossip a little bit here. Who doesn't like a good gossip? But he doesn't, you know?
Oh, shout out to Ryan.
Yeah.
Very good man. Very good man.
Yeah.
So let's go into your career. So you finished a business program.
Yeah.
And then you knew you wanted to get into the fashion industry.
Yes.
And then you just took it upon yourself to email a long list of businesses to work for free and learn the ropes.
Yes.
And Dace was the only one that replied.
Yeah. My last year at BCIT, I was like, oh, shit, I'm graduating. This means that I really got to, you know, pay attention in class. And I should probably start figuring out what I want to do after, you know, these months are over. And so I decided, okay, well, I like makeup and I like fashion. So I'll just do everything that I do, like to embody those things that are, you know, like all the projects I did. I'm like, okay, I'll make it a fashion project, even if it wasn't, you know? And so, yeah, I Googled and I didn't even know what a sales rep was at the time or anything. And I just had this huge list and I emailed everybody from this list. And I'm like, hi, I'm willing to work for free, graduating BCIT, come like May, you know, do you need any help? And nobody responded except for Dace, which was Leisha Sabine. Like, she responded. And I was like, and then I ended up working there for 8 years. And I worked for free for the first year.
Wow.
just for a trade. I was living at home at the time, and I just really wanted the experience. I'm not a good student. Like I wasn't good. I wasn't the smartest at school. Like I wasn't like a good student, but so I learned better
With experience?
with experience and doing things. And my role there just kept growing.
Yeah.
You know, it was like organizing wholesale. And then it was, okay, well, this thing called Facebook started, you know, doing social. Oh, this site called, this platform called Shopify started. That's how old. That's old. Okay, so we're going to be using this Shopify thing, you know, accounting software, all this stuff. And, you know, I just started owning it and owning that and owning this and owning that. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Like all of the building blocks of things that you needed to learn.
Yeah.
And I think back then, that was the time where, because you're talking about, you know, emailing and working for free, I did the same thing. I was like, I really want to work at this spot. I'm totally fine with being an intern.
No one's,
but it doesn't happen.
No.
No, it doesn't happen like that anymore. Like you feel like, I know back then it was like, well, this is what you need to do. You need to, you know, do some grunt work to start your career.
Yeah, and it is different now. I mean, there are still, it's so rare though. I felt like even when I was at Days, like I was getting people doing the same thing, but less and less over the years, I'm finding. Like at Garmentory, I had a few girls that ended up staying and they did that, and it was really amazing. Like Rebecca, who I'm still working with her today, and she's amazing. She did that too. She worked for free. But less and less, I'm finding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think people, you know, the younger generation out of the gates are looking to get paid right away.
Which is hard.
It's a different structure now.
Different structure. And it is hard for small businesses to bring someone on right away. And, you know, especially a small brand like Days, they couldn't afford to pay for me to come on until I came to help grow something, and then they could have.
And then they created a place for you.
Yeah. Or you create a place for yourself by doing that.
That's true.
At the end of the day.
That's true. Being like, hey, I think you need this, and I see an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really, really true. Okay, so from fashion writing to the marketing to becoming co-founder and VP of merchandising at Garmentory, which was a next-gen retail startup.
Yes.
And then chief merchant, marketing officer at Brand Assembly.
Yes.
And now co-creator at Tigre.
Yeah, the clothing line.
A clothing line based in LA.
Based in LA. Mm-hmm. My partner, Alnea, she does 12 Volant as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you are the founder of a collective called Snack Size, too. And you do a lot of strategy on that end for development, growth, and then maintenance.
Yeah. And so Snack Size could operate like an agency, but it's not. It basically was a way for me to work with friends.
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to work with my friends. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Let's just work with friends on fun things. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it turned out to be.
Yeah. And I guess with that collective mentality, whoever's sort of right for a particular project, you can assemble that together.
Yeah. So I don't have to do everything. I pass off a lot.
Yeah.
But the projects I do, I get to bring in friends and we get to work on it together, which is really fun.
Yeah. How do you feel when you look back on this pretty incredible journey in the industry?
Yeah, I don't know. I never thought to myself, oh, what's it going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I don't know. I just kind of just went with it, you know? And when COVID hit, you know, at Brand Assembly, where I was the CMO, you know, automatically it's like everybody got 30% pay cut. And I knew the direction it was going in, because it's predominantly trade shows, which were non-existent up until like just recently. Right. And then at the end of the day, I was like, do I really want to be doing the trade shows? Right. And so, you know, I had to think fast about, anyways, so when I was at Brand Assembly towards that tail end, I'm like, Rebecca and I, like, we need to do something. And we started, and by the time we stopped Brand Assembly completely, we were already set up with a website and just working on doing proposals and sending them to people. So,
again, pivoting into a different direction.
Yeah. So now I could do proposals really fast.
You're like, instead of days, it takes an hour.
Yeah. It used to take days. I'm like, why is this so hard? And then now it's like, okay, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess you begin to understand your perspective on how you operate and how you would develop these things.
And also your value.
Your value.
That's the one thing that I never had, even at Garmentory. Like, didn't really understand what my worth was and what my value was. And I didn't, honestly, until this year, where I'm realizing, you know what? Like, you're making a difference in a business that's going to set them up to make some pretty good return. Yeah. So you should be compensated for that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard to think that way, especially when, for me, coming from small business, where it's like, there's no money. we have to be careful because there's never any money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes.
you in a way, it kind of cheapens you cheapen yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, what you're used to is not what the rest of the world is used to. So you're kind of down here with what your worth is and then when you leave, it's where you what she got paid what for that, then you're just you kind of question like, oh, so all these years.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean, right? Especially coming you did contract doing Sweet Spot, then you,
of course,
right?
And it's a struggle all the time.
Yeah.
Even in this new career path that I've taken as a sound therapist, there was that struggle in the beginning, being like, well, what should my rate be? Like, what will people pay for this? Like, is what I'm doing worth that? And in the end, it was like, yes, it is worth that for these reasons. This is what I'm bringing to the table in my particular approach.
It's just committing to it.
Yes.
It's just you committing to it. Okay, that this is what it is because this is and this is why.
Yes.
And you just commit and you stick to it. And the people that can't, and the people that can. The end
exactly.
Of the day.
And I was just going to say that too, when you commit and you stick to whatever it is that you are, your rate is or what you're doing, that's when you find the right people to work with.
Exactly.
Because, the ones who are like, I don't know, then you don't want to work with them anyways.
Yeah, because I think in the beginning it's scary because you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to do something new. Do you think like people can afford this? But then if you keep doing it at that price, it's not scalable and it doesn't make sense because it takes you so many hours to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, when you were at Garmentory, what did you learn the most about yourself being a co-founder at a startup? And you and your co-founders kind of came at a good time at the intersection of fashion and tech. So I'd love to know how you evolved.
So personally and professionally, I think I evolved by, I wasn't really an advocate for myself. Who actually taught me to stand up for myself was Elisa Casonin. She's amazing. I love her. I love her so much.
Dear friend.
She's so smart too. And so I never advocated for myself. She actually was the one that pushed me to. I was like, okay, because I don't like conflict, Conflict doesn't have to be a negative thing. That's what I've learned too. And, I was a baby. I think I was like 30. I was only 30 years old. Or 31 when I started Garmentory. Yeah. So Elisa taught me that, how to advocate for myself and how to use my voice. And then with her, and then I had an executive coach too.
Yes.
I think with the two of them, it's like I became this new person.
Yeah, that's
and
incredible.
I started to stand up for myself.
Yeah, and understanding that you have a place at the table.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's very intimidating. It's very intimidating. And just learning how to do that, and then learning how to justify things that I'm doing, like being prepared with that ammunition for why in advance, like preparing that in advance, that helped me too.
Oh yeah, that is very, very important.
Yeah. But I guess coming from an atmosphere like Days, it's like we kind of just did what we wanted because it felt right. We didn't have to explain ourselves.
Yes.
We're just like, oh, this looks nice, or this sounds really cool. Like we should just do something like this,
Yeah.
So I never was in an environment before where I had to justify the reasons for why and what it would bring in return. And that was the challenge for me. That was a really big challenge. It's hard. That was hard.
Yes.
Right? And
it's the ROI because it's a business,
yes,
right?
because it's a business and people invested money in this business and they want to know how it's going to come back to them, right? So, because it was venture backed, so we had investors, so we had to answer to them. So that was a challenge for me to learn that. But once I learned that, you learn what it means to think big picture, which I didn't have before because I was very small-minded and small business-minded, and then you can learn how to. Then from there, you're like, okay, you know how to scale. You learn how to scale
because you're forecasting ahead.
Yes.
You're looking at like what's emerging, what's
and
happening,
what you need to do to get there. And so once I unlocked that, I just feel professionally and mentally like your mind can expand and look at things so differently.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you learned structure.
Yes. Process and structure.
Process and structure is important to being successful.
And who would have thought the girl that didn't have any to now have so much of it.
You learn in life, don't you?
Yeah.
What keeps you in the game?
The passion's still there for me. I still love fashion. Now it's more pivoted to like I love helping people. Like I love coming in and organizing something and making it better. And I love building things. And I could build it, and I'm also okay to leave it after and let someone else take over and do it. So
right.
the maintaining part at the end of the day, like the longevity of, I had been at Garmentory for over 7 years. I don't think I could have gone past this, and I didn't. And I think I would have been so unhappy going past it. I think I needed a new challenge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You recognized when the new chapter
It's
for yourself
done.
needed to begin.
Yeah, and like you could take it and you guys see what happens. And when I see it, it's not like I feel like, oh yeah, I'm so pained that I'm not there. No, I'm actually like happy it's still around. Like I built that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Something
Then
to
that's
be
a good
proud
feeling. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with building things and letting someone else take it and go. So
yeah, and speaking of that, we were chatting about your late but beloved mentor.
yes.
Ginny
Hershey-Lambert. She was a
Yes.
chief merchant at Bergdorf and Neiman. She was at Neiman Marcus for a long time.
Yeah. And she passed, but you're now doing something
Yeah.
that you were going to do together.
Yes.
But in a way, it's something that you're going to carry on.
Yes, and it was from her vision. So it's nice to think about it that way. Yeah, so she had been starting to work with a client in Philadelphia. It's a luxury department store called Boyd's.
Oh, okay.
And so she wanted to bring me in to help with the marketing. And so she had passed, and we were really excited because it was our first time we were going to work together at this capacity if they had decided that they wanted to work with me. And so we were really excited because we were like, oh, we're going to do so many good things. Like, this can be so fun. We've never worked this way. I'm like, I'm going to learn so much more from you. She's like, I'm going to learn from you. And so we were very excited about it. And then, she had a brain aneurysm after we had gotten off a phone call, and then she had just passed away right away. And so for months, like, it went stagnant, but I still kept in touch with Kent, who is the owner. It's like a fourth generation luxury store.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's been around for since like 1893 or something.
Oh,
like something
wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
No,
lots of history.
19. Yeah, there's lots of history there. I don't know if it's 1893. Maybe I made that up, but maybe edit this part out.
Yeah. We'll do a slight little fact check. Maybe.
Yeah. So they've been around for a very, very long time, like a legacy store in Philadelphia. And so I just started there in August with them, and I love them. Like, it's a family-run business. They're all amazing. Staff has been there for 30 years. That's how much they love working with.
That's a high retention rate, like a long one.
And everyone loves working with this family because they're amazing and so kind. I love them already, and I just started getting to know them even more now. And it's really nice, but also sad at the same time because they've all met her too. And so to work together and then know, like, we still could reference like what she had thought. It's just nice to be around other people that knew her too.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I miss her a lot.
Yeah. What would you say to her if she was around?
Oh, if she was still here. We spoke so much. She knows I told her all the time how thankful I was to be in her life. I actually thought that I was the only one. And then when she passed, I saw all these other messages people were leaving. It seemed like they also had her too. And I'm just like, I thought it was just me. So I was kind of jealous. I'm like, I thought it was just me, Ginny. No, but I'm just so grateful to have her. To be completely honest, like, everything that happened with Garmentory and my growth there really came from her. She actually guided me, and she showed me what to look at, and she showed me how to grow things. So I unfortunately, like, as an entrepreneur and at doing what I'm doing, I have never had anyone above me to teach me things. I've always been the one, like, running the show. And that's hard. And that's very hard. And so to have someone like her for like the 6 years that we were close, she was the one that taught me. She's literally taught me everything. I can't even attribute it to just doing work at Garmentory. It's like, actually, Ginny is the one that led me and showed me the way, to be honest. So
Wow.
I owe her so much. And I would tell her all the time.
Yeah.
I loved her so much. She knew it too. She knew that I loved her. So.
Oh, that's really beautiful. And it's she taught you a lot, but also she believed in you. And
She
isn't
did.
that is such a wonderful feeling when someone does.
And she'd always send me these little notes to lift me up all the time, like whether it was LinkedIn, text, or like even Instagram. Like, always lifting me up all the
She was
time.
your cheerleader.
She was, and I was
Yeah.
hers. Like, she was just amazing. She's just this amazing woman, and the truth is, they did a WWD story about her after she passed, and just reading the comments of everybody she was just amazing. Even Ed Boyd's right now, Kent talks about how amazing she was because he knew it just from working with her for a few months.
Yes.
So I was very, very lucky, and she came to me for a reason, and
Yes,
I was
of
so
course.
lucky that I was able to have that time with her.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
I am sorry for your loss.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I love something that you said in an interview you did with the Coquitlam about entrepreneurship and motherhood. You had said your children are your reality check and deserve respect for you not to be distracted by work. So you put that away when you get home.
Yeah. That doesn't always happen, but more so now than before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the part about your children deserving respect.
They do. Yeah. They do. And I don't, they start off with it, and then it's up to them if they want to lose it or not. They've never lost my respect yet. So.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
You're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right?
I give them my trust. Like, I trust them
Yes. Yes.
until you fuck up. But they haven't fucked up. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a certain freedom in that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm giving you the respect, and you'll give it back, right?
Yeah.
And you spent a lot of time in LA.
Yes. LA and New York.
And New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you love about these other cities? And what do you feel is happening there currently with culture and creativity that makes you feel super excited?
Well, I think for me, it's a personal part because a garment tour had enabled me to travel so much. I just made so many really good friends. So I would say my most favorite part with LA and New York has been my friends there, my very, very good friends that I haven't seen in a very long time. Right? I haven't traveled. I actually left those two cities right when COVID happened. Like, I came out of Market in New York going into Paris, where COVID was like started to get crazy because people had come from Milan.
Right.
Yep. And so Paris Fashion Week was so weird, like hardly anybody there. And then I remember people saying, it's not serious. Like, they're not going to shut down the airport. You know what it's going to take? It's going to take so much to shut down an airport. What happened after we left, the airport got shut down. You know what I mean? And then I went to LA and had to leave LA early because there was no toilet paper left all of a sudden. It got really crazy there. And I'm like, we need to go home. So we just booked flights. Everybody just booked flights home right away. And then I've been home since. Except I went to Philadelphia in August, but prior to that, I had not traveled. And so I don't even know what's happening there. But I can tell you what I like that's changed out of the fashion industry.
Yes, I'd
especially
love to know.
with emerging designers, emerging independent designers, and with the boutiques, is that there isn't this rush to feel like you have to have this collection ready to sell for a certain time. So it's like the pressure is off there.
Wow.
Because buyers are buying what they want when they need it. And designers are starting to produce what they want when it's ready. And so, and not everybody, but most of who I know is. And so what that's done is it's alleviated the stress and this mad panic to like, I got to be ready for February. I got to be ready for September. I have to have this much done. I have to have this done. I have to have this done to, it's going to be done when it's done, you know?
I really love that.
Yeah.
This actually reminds me a little bit of a conversation I had yesterday with my friend Rihanna, who's a co-founder of a branding agency called Super Bonjour. And we were talking about this allowing for space for creativity instead of always like going. So I love hearing that for fashion, that there's this fallow period, because I do remember when it was like collection after collection,
Yeah.
it seemed like designers and teams didn't have space.
And it still is, but not at the same time. So people are still following it. Brands are still following it, but a lot of brands aren't. But I do know that the mindset of the store, it's easier for them to buy what they need when they need to buy it, as opposed to having to put this order in 6 months prior to and not knowing what they're going to sell through over the 6 months and how much cash flow they're going to have left to pay for these orders. You know what I mean?
Right. So it allows them to be more successful.
Yeah, and it's more freeing, you know?
Yes.
And so the model for my clothing line with Alnea had always been that way, where we're not doing traditional seasons, we're doing off-season no minimums, and we're just doing these small capsules. So we had already been operating like this before COVID, and it worked well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And now
The industry's catching up to that
yes,
idea.
and I'm seeing more people working that way now.
I like that for people.
Yeah, I do too. It's less stressful.
I was going to say the stress levels are super
And
down. It allows them to be healthier.
And then you don't have to produce as big as a collection as you used to.
Yeah.
Just like smaller pieces you're launching at a time, maybe every few months kind of thing. And then if you buy it, you buy it. And otherwise, a lot of designers I know direct to consumer went up over COVID anyways.
Yeah.
So you're making more money and more profitable. So there's growth there. There's been growth there.
Any favorite? Yeah, I'm excited to see how this continues to infiltrate the industry, and I'm curious to know, do you have any emerging brands that you are watching right now?
Yeah, my favorite right now is Monica Cordero. So one of a few carries them. I love everything, and it's not too crazy with the price point.
Okay,
it's not like $1,000.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, for most part, it's not like $1,000 for something. You could get some things like the price is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like her. Who else do I like? I just worked on a brand refresh with a client by the name of Hudson, and she does sustainable vegan leather bags out of cactus, and we did a whole new collection, and it's really beautiful. So I've been wearing a lot of her stuff.
Out of cactus?
Yeah, cactus leather. They're
Wow.
doing some crazy stuff for sustainability with the types of leather they could do now. They're even doing mushroom leathers.
Yes. I know
Yeah.
LVMH has been looking at that.
Yeah, and someone, I remember like over COVID, there was a company in Brooklyn that was growing mushroom for the vegan mushroom leather. It was very expensive. What people need to know too is that these leathers are more expensive than real leathers. Right?
Yeah, I guess like the process will be.
Yeah, there's
different.
even like pineapple leather
Wow.
that they have. I'm always hearing about new developments.
That's
which is very
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
There's even, I heard about this one leather that was made out of like dead fish scales that like whatever waste comes from the fish after, like they turned it into like a fabric.
Wow.
It's interesting, hey?
It's really interesting. I guess something for everyone to watch.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially if it's good for the world.
Yeah, especially if it could become biodegradable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're being able to use things that are seen as waste.
Yes.
And using it for something else. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, just a couple more questions, actually, just two left for you. If you were to ask your daughters, Jamie and Cielo, if I were to ask, actually, what they love most about you, using your mother's instinct, and because you have a really good one, what do you think they'd say?
I think they'd say that I'm really fun.
Well, yes, I would say the same thing.
Because I'm so fun, and I never get mad at anybody. No, maybe they would say that I'm fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
More than their dad.
Well, fun is good.
Yeah, fun is
That means
good.
you can hang out with your parents, and it'd be super fun. Yeah.
Well, I hope they would say that I was supportive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, final question. It's the question I ask everyone. With what it is you do, what is it that you want to leave behind in the world?
Oh, you know what I really want to leave behind? It's not even in the world. It's for my kids. I just want to leave behind a lot of money for them.
So they're well taken care of.
Yeah, because how are they going to buy a house? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard on your own
Especially
days.
if they're going to live here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So I just hope that when I'm gone, I've left them behind something that can help them do what they want to do and not feel like they have to struggle. Because I felt like I struggled a lot. Like I struggled a lot financially when I was younger with Jamie. You know what I mean? And so I would hate for them to ever feel like they couldn't do something because they couldn't afford it. So I hope to leave behind for my kids some monies.
Yes. Which will allow them to have greater freedom to live the lives that they want to. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks for bringing your energy into this room and your laughter. I really appreciate it. And you sharing your story and your thoughts.
Thanks so much for having me. I love talking about myself. So. Just joking. No, I love talking to you. I haven't talked to you in so long.
I know.
It's been great.
This has been fun, which you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you enjoyed that last conversation, be sure to check out more episodes of The Craft on Spotify and guest photo galleries on the website at wearethecraft.com. Thanks again for listening.